Hi everyone. After knowing how to write inverted news pyramid style and how to actually interview people, it's time for you to actually learn how to write feature writing. If some of you enroll with Miss Xiao Yuan Ching, uh, you will learn an extensive idea of what feature writing is, and most probably many different styles of feature writing. I'll go to the basics of what feature writing is for this particular video lecture. So basically, because we are an online journalism subject, it's important for you and for me to share with you the two important styles of news writing, which is the inverted news pyramid and the feature writing style. Okay, I will just go briefly on the style. You will learn more an extension of feature writing with your lecturer, Miss Xiao Yuanqing, if you're taking the subject of feature writing. Okay, let's go into what is a feature. Okay, what is a feature? When you ask a journalist a feature, it's most probably journalists would say it's anything that is in news, because when you talk about feature, it's always an ongoing issue that is being debated in the society. For example, cancer, for example, beauty, technology. That would be feature writing, which is an ongoing issue. Okay, so features can be recognized by their length, which is 600 to 2000 words, whereby a hard news story is only 4 paragraphs. Okay, minimum, and 8 paragraph max. Okay, so when you talk about feature, it draws a wide range of sources than a news story. A hard news story, their sources will be only two. For feature news story, it can be up to four, six, and even eight. Okay, so feature stories focus and best interest focus and purpose is much more purposeful when you read and write feature stories. And when you write features, you need to actually ask yourself, as a journalist or as a writer, what will the readers take away from the piece? Okay, with that, let's differentiate a little bit what is hard news and what is soft news. So hard news is can be hard, chronicling as concisely as possible the who, what, when, why, and how event, the 5W and 1H. Okay, so the first part, okay, the first part would be the first part of writing news story is to write the place line. This would be the place line. Okay, if I haven't taught you the place line, I will give you the video on what is the term of a place line. So anything when you write a news story, it's important that you write the place, the state of where the event happened. Okay, for example, Petaling Jaya here, Petaling Jaya. Mind my highlighting ways. Okay, Petaling Jaya, the Civil of Aviation Authority of Malaysia (CAAM) has suspended any Boeing 737 MAX 8 aircraft flying to or from Malaysia and transiting in Malaysia until further notice. So that would be hard news story. Okay, so if a soft news story, okay, it is standing back to examine the people, places, and things that shape the world, nation, or community. So, for example, it can be about Instagrammers are becoming a nuisance in Hong Kong. It's very light, it's not that hard. Yeah, so you can write it as a point of view of an essay. Okay, so more or less like that. And features, when is soft news appropriate? Okay, let's look at this news writing style right here. So for example here, if I give you the sentence Monday, the warmest day so far this year, if you write it in a hard news story style, record heat toasted the city Monday, there's no relief in sight. It's very hot, it's very important, it's very heady. But when you write it in terms of a feature way, okay, a feature way. It's very relaxed, okay. You can quote a person's name even in the first sentence, okay. So for example here, John Matthews did what everyone in the city wanted to do on Monday: spend the day getting a tan at the beach. So that's how relaxed a feature story can be. Okay, and continuing to the next slide. Okay, so most media offer mix hard news, timely events, and feature. Okay, so mostly when you read news portal or news sites, right? It has a mixture of everything. For example, profile people. It can be in feature news as well. Explain events that move or shook the news. For example, COVID-19, analyze what is happening in the world. COVID-19 again, suggest better ways to live in a complicated world. Coming back to COVID-19, how to wash your hands. So many stories on how to wash your hands properly. Examine trends in constantly changing societies, and entertain or humor an audience. So mostly, when you read news, especially feature news, if you flip through a hard copy of a newspaper, it will be at the center section of the newspaper itself. But if you're in an online news site, you can just click on entertainment and feature and human stories, and you are being directed to the feature stories. Okay, so mostly it's a mixture of everything. When we talk about feature stories, it can be a little bit hard, but it's a much more of an explanation. Writers can actually elaborate in feature stories, okay, and include their own opinion. That's very, very interesting as well. So when we talk about news, okay, news story might be soft or hard. It's important to have news value, which is a descriptive of a breaking story, whereby it's very important. So you must have a news value when you write news. Okay, with that, let's go through the types of features that we have. So the first one would be personality profile. And we can see in the picture right here, this is Daniel Radcliffe from Harry Potter. Okay, personality profile would be feature story that brings an audience closer to a person or in out of the news. Okay, so for example, the headline will be what? The headline would be the topic of the story. Okay, good, good that you're sharing stuff with me. Okay, along when I give lectures. Okay. With that, this will be the headline. So the first paragraph: actor Daniel Radcliffe, who spent a large part of his childhood playing the bespectacled wizard Harry Potter, is is all grown up now. In fact, come July, he'll be 30. In an exclusive phone interview with Star Lifestyle, Radcliffe reflects on his journey so far, blah, 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 blah. This would be a personality profile where you write your story focusing on a particular person, or a political a person who has news value, a very important person. It can be an actor or so forth. Okay, the second one would be human interest story. Okay, human interest story type will be a feature story that shows a subject's oddity or emotional or entertainment value. Okay, for example, here Malaysia Film Festival returns on March 30th after delay. The prestigious Malaysia Film Festival will return for its 30th edition. It is announced that it at a press conference held today. FFM, regarded as Malaysia's equivalent to the Oscars, it's something that people will be interested in. You know, very important entertainment event. That will be human interest stories. The third one will be trend stories, which is examining people, things, or organization that are having an impact on society. So, for example, any trends, for example, Mother's Day, International Women's Day, yeah, right here. Okay, so for example, here, International Women's Day, you celebrate International Women's Day with this female-centric art shows. So the first paragraph reads as art galleries around the town getting into the spirit of International Women's Day with an array of female-centric exhibitions. So it can be a trend when you talk about feature as well. Yeah. And you can also have in-depth stories in feature, whereby a story that through extensive research and interviews provided a detailed account well beyond a basic news story. So, for example, the one MDB story, you would like to elaborate that and include your opinion in the particular feature story, you can write about one MDB as well. One MDB does not mean it only can remain as a hard news story. It can be a futuristic as well, where the writer or the journalist can include his or her opinion or give a story timeline to that particular story. Okay, so that is another one. Another type of a feature story would be a backgrounder, which is an analysis piece, adds meaning to current issue in the news by explaining them further. Okay, so backgrounders would be, for example, like this. A troublesome game for PHPH is for Pakatan Harapan. The possibility if you are an UMNO past politician or supporter, it is mouthwater. When you add the votes, it's more of an analytical piece that is being written solely according to the reporter or the writer's point of view. That is a backgrounder. Okay, and we move on to writing and organizing feature stories. Yup. Okay, so these would be guidelines for you to organize or write a feature story. So we'll go one by one. Okay, so the first one would be finding the theme and develop the story. So when you write a feature story, it's important to have a theme and a purpose. Okay, if you want to write on a profile story, you need to find somewhere unique. Okay, or if you want to write a story, whether you want to teach something or to reveal something or to illuminate something, okay, and it has to have a beginning, a body, and 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 end. So you must narrow your themes. You must know what you want to talk about. Find a particular one issue. Don't talk about seven different issues in one story. People will be very distracted, especially readers. So it's important to find only one particular theme for your feature story. Okay, so writers will determine a theme on the basis of several factors. Okay, when you write, ask these questions right here. So the first one, has a story done before? For example, if you want to talk about cancer, you don't want to talk about the same thing about cancer. You must have a new theme about cancer that is attractive for people to read on, and you need to consider the second one would be the audience should be of interest to the audience. You want your audience to read your stuff. It's the most important part of being a journalist or a reporter or even a writer. Okay, the third one will be holding power. The story has to keep the audience interested when you write feature story. Okay, it must have emotional appeal. You can elaborate, you can beautify your story in feature story only. So I repeat, in hard news story, never include your opinion, only include your opinion and your elaboration in feature stories. Okay, and coming back to the fourth point, which is worthiness. So you want to ask yourself whether is this story worth anything, does it have value? So ask yourself that. And coming to the next one, which is guideline number 2, you write the lead. Okay, so we'll go through together, okay, on how to write the lead. There are various types of lead, which narrative, contrast, staccato, direct, address, or you don't want to write all those. You can cook up of your own lead. Okay, so I'll give extra notes on this. So you want to avoid summary leads in feature news because it's too direct, so you want to elaborate. Okay, the lead has to convey urgency, so they want to read the story, but you have to elaborate it as well. So for example here, uh in feature story you need to use a lead block, okay, where you use two or more paragraphs often to begin a feature. Okay, so first two paragraphs to set a mood, to arouse the reader, to invite them inside. You don't need to include everything in the first paragraph for feature story. You can take your time. Okay, and the next one, which is, for example, right here, because coffee grows mostly in warm climates of Latin America, Africa, and Asia, everyone who drinks it depends on workers from those regions to satisfy the fix. Farmers, pickers, processors, importers, shippers, roasters, grocery clerks, blah 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 blah, and it goes on and on. So you can go on and on inviting readers to read your story. And guideline number three will be write the body, easy to follow and understand, vital information, educate and entertain, and emotionally tie. You must emotionally tie your reader. Okay, so for example, guideline number four, uh, guideline number three will be write the body. So you write the body of your story. Guideline number four would be provide background information. It's essential for feature writers to provide the appropriate background. It should appear high in the story to bring the readers up to date. Okay, for example, right here, background would be you research on your story. So if you're writing about coffee, so you want to write like this. Coffee is tradition in Tres Rios, where generations have grown up picking beans at Bella Vista, one of Costa Rica's older coffee farms. Okay, so that's how you should actually write your story. And it goes about 30,000. Remember Costa Rica and Costa coffee? Yeah, Costa. You drink Costa before? Yeah. So coffee is originated from Costa Rica's oldest coffee farm. Okay, so you go on and on. You can research your background information through the website, and you can actually write that in your news story, in your feature story. Okay. Guideline number five, a thread common element, which is to use a thread in your particular news story. You can use that as well, depending on the information that you have. So, for example, right here, sometimes there is an intertwined element, in your story. Okay, so let's say you are a reporter. Okay, you are a reporter or a journalist or a writer. So you are stationed at a hospital, and a 13-year-old child in a hospital bed waiting for a heart transplant. So you follow that story from day one, and he is facing for the deadline of death. But one particular day, when you wait for this particular kid, you waited and update yourself about how this kid actually fight his heart disease. Okay, so suddenly an accident with an event 20-year-old man dies, rushed to the hospital, heart is removed. Suddenly the heart is being transplanted to this particular kid that the story that you followed. So you can intertwine them because you are there watching that particular incident happen right before your eyes. So you can use a thread to interlink stories. Okay, and the next one, which is to use a thread, no, we are there. Sorry, to use transition. For example, connect the beginning, middle, the end of story. So we can use, for example, meaning, therefore, sometimes, also. Let me highlight that. We can use this as example of your transition. But meantime, nevertheless, and however, at 8 p.m., despite other promises, and so forth. That's guideline number six. And guideline number seven would be using a dialogue. So you can actually use a dialogue to show the development of the feature story that you are writing. Okay, so it's important to interview people, might it be for hard news story or for feature story. Interview people. Okay, then use voice. So when we write feature stories, guideline number eight, from time to time when you practice, you will have your personal style of writing. So that's why it's important not just to complete one tutorial assignment one time off. It's to practice that you become a better writer. Okay, so for the first time you write, that's not the best writing piece that you can actually give me. Write, and rewrite. Okay, that's to be a good writer, a journalist, it takes a lot of practice. Okay, so with that, you can actually develop your voice, your own signature work. Okay, when you use words or you rearrange words, people know that this writing, that this article belongs to you. That's where you as a writer have developed a voice. Okay, you as an online journalist have developed a voice. And guideline number nine. Okay, guideline number nine would be right there ending. So it could be climax. You can end with a quote. You can have a happy ending. For example, here, so Solana says coffee provides him a life he's content with, and you end it when you pick the coffee. Solana says you live day by day, so you can end with a happy ending as well. So it depends on the writing itself. But and that will be the end of the lecture. What I hope most is that you use your future writing knowledge in your future writing class and apply it in this particular subject, which is online journalism. So future writing, you can be flexible. You can write, start with an I and end with I love you. Yeah, you can't do that with hard news stories. So explore yourself in writing, people. And with that, I will give you additional write-ups or exercises for you to write your news, and hopefully from time to time you will get better. So for the next video, you will be learning more how to write summaries of the web. Okay, with that, thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for listening. Stay safe and have a pleasant day. Bye.